Alright, Alvis Tennant here. 50 years of martial arts stories. I want to shout out my son, $1 Billion Visions. Check him out, $1billiondollarvisions.com. I want to shout out my man Banky Pound, who inspired me to make this channel with his channel. He's got a channel called 33 Years of Prison Stories, and he's basically telling the horrors of prison to help keep people from having to go through that. Some of the fights he talks about are, whew, I'm so glad I never went to prison and got my fighting done in martial arts. Anyway, this is Alvis Tennant, 50 years of martial arts story. The Way of Victory is my YouTube channel. I'd like you to like, subscribe, and share, because I want to get the word out of my story in the hopes that it'll be a help for someone else. I've used the martial arts and my training as a doorway to myself. So there are many doorways to yourself, but that's the most important thing we can do is get self-knowledge, knowledge of self. So I'm telling my story. I've started training in 1972, and I've been going through a series of videos by the years. So at the present time, I'm in 1975. I had a lot of experience gained in the island of Okinawa, which we in the Marines called the Rock. So I was there from 1974 to 1975. So my last fight in Okinawa was an unplanned fight. I went down to the dojo, which I typically would go to the dojo six days a week for 3 or 4 hours a day. I had the key and just could go in. I went in this day and I saw my man Jim, my dojo mate. He's not on as a high level as I was at that time. At that time, I'm a black belt and also was the chief. Me and Ralph, I told you about in previous videos, we were the chief fighters in the dojo. So Jim was, he would fight. It was a fighting dojo, so Jim could fight, but he wasn't the best we had. And I say that because when I walk in the dojo this time, Jim is obviously been beat up. He's got, he's a white guy, so his face was like red from different smacks to the face. His ribs, stomach was kind of red, and he had a dejected look on his face. And I'm like, "What's going on, Jim?" And and he says, "Man, just this new guy wants to come in, and I was just moving around with him. He's pretty good." And so now I'm in like a cold rage, because basically you've come in and beat up one of my people in my dojo. That's the way I was thinking then. I'm 18 at that time. No, I was actually 19 by then. So I turned 19 on Okinawa. So this was about a month before I went home. I went home in October, so this was about September of 1975. But anyway, I'm 19. And anyway, that's how I felt. He just came in our dojo, and now he's kicking on what I feel is my bag, and he's in there, waiting to start the class. I guess he thinks he's going to run through the whole dojo. So I'm absolutely not having it. So when I go in, I say, "Hey man, what's going on?" He said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I introduced myself. He introduced himself, and I said, "So we can move around a little bit when I come out before class." He said, "Oh yeah, it's cool." And I could tell he's got like a quiet, he's trying to act humble, but I could tell he's arrogant, and he's probably got maybe 4 or 5 inches on me, and maybe 20, 30 pounds. So he's a little bigger than me. And I could tell he sized me up and figured, I don't look like I can do all the things I can do. So I get changed up, and we get out there. We put on the gloves, mouthpiece, cup, no headgear. The gloves are about 10-ounce gloves, and we start to go. So we go in, and mind you, I'm enraged at what he's done. He's like, to me at that time, it was total violation. So anyway, we get in there, we square off right away. As soon as we say go, boom, I hit him with a back fist to the face. Then I switch hands, we square off again, boom, I hit him with a back fist to the face. So I've hit him twice before he could do anything. We square off again. he throws some punches, but his punches they're very hard. But I avoided all of his punches, and then I throw a back fist that he blocks, and I kick him with a side kick, a left side kick that was planted directly in his midsection, and he actually fell to the ground. So he's like surprised at the power that I was able to generate because of my size. So anyway, he's not done yet. He gets up and he throws roundhouse kicks and side kicks, and as he's throwing his kicks, I'm blocking with my knees and I'm blocking with my forearm. Now keep this in mind. In this school, we would train with the shinai. That's like a bamboo sword. We would train with that sword. The sensei would hit us repetitively on our forearm bone and our shin bone and all on our bodies to make us hard. We were practicing what's called hardcore karate and fighting with it. So I was very hardened and had been doing this for about a year in Okinawa by now, but I'd had training. My training I had about 3 solid, consistent years of training, 5-6 days a week for 3 years at that time. So anyway, he wasn't able to get anything in on me. One of his punches kind of grazed me, so he had some power, but I'm discouraging him because I keep hitting him with back fist. He threw one very hard roundhouse. I timed it and spun, hit him with the spinning back fist, and then spun around, hit him with the spinning back fist again, and then kicked him a back kick as I'm stepping away from him. So I'm actually, it was obvious that he was good, but I was a lot better. I was levels above him, even though he came in very aggressive. And I still didn't feel right about what he'd done to the gym and that he violated the dojo. So I'm being, very aggressive with him. And so he threw a few roundhouses. He actually threw a very hard roundhouse, and I blocked it with my forearm. Then I timed it, so he threw another roundhouse, and I actually I made him think he was going to get an opening and just put my elbow in so that the roundhouse actually hit my elbow. I timed it perfectly. That's actually a technique. But it worked that time, and his foot hit my elbow very hard, and I could see his foot actually turned red, and when he brought his foot down, we looked at each other, and I could tell he was in pain from that, from that foot, kicking the wrong target. And so we moved around a little bit more, and the fight ended with me throwing another back fist, catching him, throwing another back fist, which he blocked, and then I hit him with a side kick. Then I spun like I was going to do a roundhouse kick, but I cut it short and made it into a direct back kick. And I actually caught him right, not in the armpit, but about 4 inches down in the ribs there. And it was so hard, I could feel it in my heel. He slammed up against the wall and went down. And he was down on the ground. And I said, I waited about 4 or 5 seconds. I said, hey man, you okay? And he said, no man, I think you might have broke my rib. I said, oh man, my bad. We didn't say my bad then. I just said, I'm sorry about that, but are you going to be okay? He said, yeah. I said, well, class starts in 15 minutes. We can go ahead and keep training. He said, no man, I've had enough. I'm gonna go to sick bay. That's where Marines went for, if you were sick or something happened to you. I'm gonna go to sick bay because I think you might have broke my ribs, man. I said, oh, well, come on back anytime. And that's how the fight basically ended. And then the next thing I did, Jim was happy because, the guy really pretty much beat Jim up. So Jim was happy. We told the sensei what happened, and, he was happy because, he can't have that reputation of somebody being able to come in your dojo and beat people up. So everybody was cool. Ralph was ecstatic. He wished he'd have been the one to do it. So it turned out pretty good. I never saw that guy again, of course, and he never did, come back to the school. November '76, I went back to the school and wanted to reclaim my position as top gun in that school. Of course, I've been gone 13 months. The school has changed. and there's a new Top Gun. So right away, that's who I'm gunning for. So that was my next session was with the new Top Gun in that school, which ended with me actually leaving the school. Now I'll tell you about that next time.